The past few years have brought me some truly amazing gaming experiences. Many of these games I would have never batted an eye towards just years ago simply because I was somewhat closed-minded in my approach. I knew what I liked and I didn't really care to branch out. I know many of you are like this, whether you're stuck in your yearly COD cycle or just trapped buying 2K and Madden every year. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. That was me for a good amount of my gaming life. But as I got older, my tastes have grown and matured, and I'm much more open to trying out different experiences. In this video, I'll be sharing a few games, many of which you've probably heard of, but just giving my experience as someone who's never played many of these games in these types of genres. Hopefully, you all leave this video with the confidence to dive into a new gaming experience and explore more games outside of your comfort zone. I'm going to start off this list and get this game out the way because it did win Game of the Year last year, but if it was even released just 2 years ago, I probably wouldn't have touched this game or taken the plunge and purchased it, especially at full price. Baldur's Gate 3 is the epitome of games outside of my comfort zone. I've never in my life ever played a CRPG, and I tend to stay away from anything turn-based or over the top, but it was a game I couldn't stop hearing about. It was all over YouTube, Twitch streams, and Twitter with some memes, but I had to see what the hype was about. I watched some streams and videos for a few days and I decided to take the plunge and purchase it at full price, like I said, which I never do on PC. Prior to playing this game, I still had Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom as my game of the year after beating it only a few months back, but let me tell you, after a couple hours of playing Baldur's Gate 3, it's like I totally forgot about that game, and I promise you it couldn't have been more than like 2 hours. It was clear that this game was Game of the Year. It's just one of those games that's so detailed and expansive that it's hard to discuss in such a brief way, but I will highlight some of what makes this game so fun at its core. The customization was great, the story narrative and the ability to approach any situation pretty much however you would like made for a truly personalized experience. The characters are all pretty cool and have their own unique storylines, goals, issues, and overall it just felt like a complete gaming experience, which is seemingly becoming more rare as developers just keep dropping half-baked games with promises of fixes later. Baldur's Gate 3 was such a compelling experience that after my first playthrough, which mind you took about 80 hours, I started to play another one a few days after with a different character of course, but with so many decisions to make throughout the game, no two playthroughs are the same. The first big hurdle I thought was going to be the combat system, but honestly, it's relatively easy to get the hang of. It looks a lot more daunting than it actually is, and truthfully, I still don't know what a lot of the certain abilities do, but it didn't hinder my enjoyment at all. I've actually come to really enjoy the combat in Baldur's Gate 3, and I can't even continue this without mentioning the narrative experience is really amazing too. Growing up as a kid, I was the type of kid who smashed through all the text in a game and I didn't really care for story much. But as I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate good narratives, and Baldur's Gate 3 hits it on the nail. Or on the head, however the expression goes. I won't get into the specifics, but the variety of choices and way engagements branch out truly enhances the experience. Seeing how your character can react to dialogue choices is always fun, and it makes for really interesting situations, good or bad. This game is truly deserving of all the praise that it receives, and I feel like Larian Studio has put a lot of love into this game. And even if I'm not interested in their next experience, I will definitely be keeping an eye on whatever they drop next. My Fallout 4 playthrough was a unique one to say the least, and I possibly would suggest this to some out there, but let me provide a little background. So I remember buying Fallout 4 way back in 2017 for my PS4, continuing the trend of games that I typically don't play. Fallout 4 appealed to me because it was the latest installment in the Fallout series at the time, which I've heard great things about, and the game studio Bethesda, which of course made Skyrim, which I had not been at this time. Like I'm sure most of you watching this video are old enough to remember the Skyrim hype, and even though it was hyped all around the world, when my friend let me borrow it back for his 360 like in 2012 I think it was, I only played it for like 15 minutes. So you know, it was all foreign to me, but everybody don't worry, I did get through Skyrim about like 8 years later, actually the same way that I got through Fallout 4. But enough of that tangent, let's refocus now. All that in combination with it being on sale and me going away at college at the time, I decided to give it a try and I'll play it whenever I have free time. I'll cut to the chase here. I pretty much played 30 minutes of that game, and I never got any progress into it until I purchased it on PC a couple years later, which even then I didn't play it until 2023. So I got my PC in like 2018, and I didn't even beat it until now, pretty much. This is a game that I purchased twice on 2 separate systems that I've played probably a total of 3 hours in the 5 years of owning it. So this past year, I finally decided I'm gonna commit after watching videos on Starfield, and the hype was getting to me a bit, but I was feeling cheap, and it was either that or Spider-Man. It should have been either if I'm being honest, but I was gonna get my Bethesda fix finally. Now, I never played New Vegas, Fallout 3, or any previous entry in the series, so with that and my urge to blast through this game, I'm not gonna lie, I cheated my way through, maxed out my character through console commands, and it was the best thing I could have done. I alluded to this earlier with Skyrim because I did beat that game in God mode because I had the same type of feeling. I just wanted to kind of go through it, just have the experience, and something about being untouchable and being a complete badass made it so fun. I also cheated my way through the developer room and got weapons I had no clue about, and that with my fire fit just made me feel like the Grim Reaper of the wasteland. All that exposition and background to say, cheating is fun in single player games, and if you have any of these games, or you have a game that's been sitting in your backlog for a little bit that allows for similar cheats, you might want to give this a try. I promise I probably wouldn't have beaten Fallout 4 if it wasn't for the ability to have crazy weapons, be invincible, and pop heads with ease using VATS. The final game I want to discuss is Metroid Dread, and it was another one of those plunge purchases for me because I saw there was some hype going for this game prior to its release. The combination of it being a sequel to the 2002 Game Boy Advance game Metroid Fusion and the domination of the Switch on the sales chart at this time saw this game having the most casual eyes out of any other game in the series. I call this one a plunge purchase again because this is one of the games that has all the red flags that would typically go up for me when trying out a new game. I'm very not fond of 2D side scrollers, Metroidvania type games, and the thought of constantly having to backtrack was enough for me to save my money, but it did drop the same day as the Switch OLED that I was gonna pick up, and I could get it $10 cheaper at Walmart, and the gaming preview showed that it looked really good in handheld mode, and it was also running at 60 FPS, so I gave it a go, and I genuinely enjoyed my 20+ hour gaming experience. There are many elements that I enjoyed from the game. The suit upgrades were really cool. The graphics and gameplay far exceed something that you would play on a typical Switch game since it isn't a massive open world. The exploration really stands out as you're traveling between 9 different areas and maps, and as I mentioned before, backtracking being one of my gaming red flags, you're always constantly unlocking new upgrades, so these areas you previously visited, you might have new power-ups that allows you to unlock new things in older areas. If I had to recommend any game in the Metroidvania type genre, this would definitely be the one. I do also have a few honorable mentions, the first one being Golf Story on the Switch. It's a very fun and lighthearted game that's not too long of an experience. Also, Cult of the Lamb took a big chunk of my time when I first started playing it around this time last year, and it's still a game that gets a lot of updates to this day. And you guys might laugh at me, but Elden Ring. I've never completed a Souls game to this day, and I had a little fun on Dark Souls 3, but I really couldn't commit to it. I fell really hard into the Elden Ring hype, and just like many other people, consumed my life for a little bit. Like, I even made a college presentation on it, and I got an A, but that's how freaking locked in I was into this game. I tapped out, I will admit, I did tap out at the Crumbling Pharaoh Missoula after 80 amazing hours, but honestly, I felt more than satisfied with my experience, and I promise you all, I will beat it one day. But that's going to end off this video, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could do me a favor, leave a like and subscribe. This was a blast to make, and I look forward to sharing more of my gaming thoughts and experiences with you all. So if you guys have any suggestions or any type of things you guys want me to talk about in the future, let me know in the comments down below. But that's going to end off this video, everybody. I hope you all stay safe. Peace.